These 5 things destroy you and destroy your chance of getting what you want. Hello again, and welcome to Create with Claire. Today we're talking about 5 things that's destroying your chances of you getting to what you want or who you want to be. So let's dive right in. The first thing is the words that you say. I want you to think about this for 1 second. What are some of the common words that you catch yourself saying on a day-to-day basis? I can't. It is difficult. Things are so bad. Life is tough. The more you hear something, the more we believe it. If you hear something over and over or think something over and over, that becomes a belief. And so to your words. You are self-programming yourself in exactly the opposite of what you are wanting. So instead of I can't, replace it with I can. So even if you believe you can't do a specific something, replace it with something that you know you can do. Or rather say, I'm working on doing something that I thought I couldn't fix. I'm now working on fixing it, for instance. And that shifts your whole perspective. That is so important to do. The I cannot, I whatever, and whatever follows I am, whatever that is, if it is a negative, you are imprinting that stuff in your subconscious mind, which you will eventually start attracting to yourself or see yourself as that person. How many people have you heard that I'm so stupid? Or, this just bugs me. Those kind of words. Because when we carry on using that, that shows us exactly what we are reflecting into our own life and to our circumstances around us. What are you saying about work? What are you saying about your car? What are you saying about your kids? What are you saying about your husband or your wife? What are you saying? What are you saying? So today I want you to reach out to your closest friend or somebody who you won't mind hearing this from and say, what's one thing I usually say that is negative? Because sometimes we don't see it within ourselves. It's so much easier. And then might think for a while and go, oh, I can't really think. And then, oh yeah, you always say this. And that way we can start helping each other through consciously changing what we say. That was step number 1. Step number 2, our thoughts. Our thoughts are just as, if not worse, the biggest thing keeping you back from your desires. And that is, how often do you wake up in the morning, look at yourself in the mirror with something negative to say to yourself? How often when you're driving the car do you think something bad or negative about yourself or somebody else? Again, thoughts that you think about becomes a reality. You start seeing it because it literally becomes a belief. You start believing the things, even though you don't want to believe it, you start acting, you start creating a paradigm that we spoke about in the last video that we will link again, that you can have a look. You start creating a paradigm and you start following on an unconscious automatic level. You start following that by the words and the thoughts that you are thinking and the things that you are saying. So if you've been stuck in something for a while, these are the first 2 things that I would go and look at. As especially if you can't seem to break through, what are your thoughts and what are the words that you say? And then actively change them to something positive. Or if you find that you doing that, like the thought, and you keep going there, is go into your senses. Feel something, smell something, listen to something, look at something intensely, look at something so that you've never looked at that kind of detail at anything that you might have. I've just picked up this little a little stone, And just look at that perhaps, and look at the detail, feel it, touch it, feel how cold it is, look at the shape, feel the shape. Um, and you can even smell it. What does it smell like? And by doing that, when you really focus in your senses on a object, you automatically stop that thought process. And sometimes that's enough for you to be able to reboot into a better thinking thought. I sometimes, when I drive, I will feel the texture of the steering wheel, where the stitching is on the underside. I would feel into that. I might even bend forward and smell into that, or hold on to it. I'll run my hands up and down. I would listen to the music. I start singing a song intently. I'll do something like that when my thoughts are going haywire with me, or when I'm in a thought process that I don't want to be in. That's a great tip for you to work on, and really makes a big, big, big difference. Step number 3, procrastination. Now, somewhere in your life, all of us, we've all procrastinated. So why do we procrastinate? Ask yourself, is it a fear of something? Is it a fear of maybe saying, well, I'm not actually sure if this procrastination is causing me to stop for a specific reason, that I need to research something perhaps better, or that I have to really think about what I'm doing. Or perhaps it's kind of a fear of trying to keep you from where you're going. So sometimes your procrastination can be a little bit like a big monster in front of you that you don't know how to pass. The only way past procrastination is to sit down and say, well, I'm doing one step past whatever I don't want to do right now. And the one step usually leads to 2 steps, and usually leads to 3 steps. Another great tip here is do what you don't want to do first thing in the morning. I find that if there's things on my to-do list that I don't want to do, if I do it first thing in the morning, my day is on fire. I go through my stuff. It's almost like a little bit of achievement. Like, yes, I did the hard thing. Now the rest of the stuff's easy. So I want you to think of that as do the hard stuff first. That is so important. However, if you start doing everything else, no matter how much you do with that big thing in your head waiting for you, by the end of the day, you don't feel like it. I'm too tired. You start coming up with excuses. That is not really the good way to go. So I would suggest that you really think about doing the hard stuff first, getting in line first thing in the morning. Quickly write a to-do list if you like writing to-do lists, or just follow in your head if you're more like me. I don't like a to-do list, but if you're more like me and you know what needs to be done, do the thing you don't want to do first. It's really empowering as well, and you get through so much in your day. Give it a try for a week and see what happens. So now let's get on to step number 4. Step number 4 is a little bit more difficult, and it is definitely worth doing. And that is facing your fears. When we don't face our fears, we stay stagnant. We don't move. We become paralyzed, and we are too afraid to do anything. Now, a big part of my life, I was fearful of everything, everyone, every situation, everything. But I want you to look at fear equals growth. Fear equals growth. If you can get past your fear, you will grow so much that you will know what's happening inside of you, and things start opening up in a very different way. And when I started tackling my fears, all of a sudden things got better inside of me. Things start showing up differently in my world. So how do we tackle fear? I want you to take the problem that you're currently thinking of, that you're fearful of, and I want you to ask yourself this question. And it's a good thing to journal on this. If you want a free copy of that journaling, the link is below. Grab a copy in there and start journaling on this stuff. This makes such a big difference in your life. You'll see when you start journaling on these things, your life changes. So go ahead and get your free copy now. So let's get back to the journaling. When you start journaling, ask yourself this question: what am I fearful of? And write it down, whatever it is. And then the second step is ask yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen if that fear had to come true right now. Now that is kind of scary to think about. And most of you have put the pen down by now. But if you want results, carry on writing. Write, what is the thing that could happen right now that you're most fearful of if that should happen? Now that you've written it and you have an answer, I want you to write there, what can you do today to prevent that from happening? To prevent that from happening. What can you do today? Tackle it head on, first thing in the morning, right? And then what I want you to do is I want you lastly to say, if that had to happen, what would you be doing in the moment to ease that fear, to make the situation worse? Now, this 4-step process is fantastic, and we can elaborate on more of these later. But what it does is it allows you to see that fear isn't as big as you actually imagined it was. Because if you go to the other end, where the worst case scenario could be true, and you go and look for solutions there, you'll see that it's actually not that bad. That the things that you were telling yourself in your mind weren't actually true. So that is a brilliant one to work through, and that will make a huge difference in your life. Step number 5, be careful who you mix with. Now, I love this one. It is so profound when you start mixing with the right people in your life. Now, I'm not saying get rid of all your friends. No, I'm just saying be careful of the discussions that you are having. Have you noticed with a certain group of friends or perhaps colleagues that all you hear is negativity, and you might be hearing talking about badly about other people behind their backs? And this actually becomes a very, very vicious circle. It's very hard to control. And once you're in that circle, it's kind of difficult to suck yourself out of that sometimes. But I want you to think of the following. First of all, would you want people to talk about you in that matter? And that alone should get anyone to stop. Secondly, ask yourself, if you had a choice and you had a group of friends that were building you up and supporting you and really pushing you on your way, or you had a group of friends that were only talking badly about people, and you knew somewhere deep down inside of you, they was probably going to do it to you as soon as opportunity presents itself, which group do you actually want to be with? Now, you got to say, well, how do I actually, what do I do with my current friends? Well, current friends is quite simple. You can have the great conversations, but you can start being the light in the conversation. Soon as conversation goes that way, you can change the topic. Or if they start involving, you can say, you know what? I don't think it's appropriate to talk about people in that way. They're not here to defend themselves. So it might not actually be the right thing to do. And you'll quickly see they'll stop doing that. Eventually they'll be like, oh, she's a bit of a party pooper. I'm not going to be there anymore. And you'll see that unfortunately, sometimes it comes with losing some friends along the way. But with what comes with it is great friends. You might not see it right away, but with that mind process, it's like a magnet. People come to you and they attract to you because you're in that mindset. You start changing friends. Some friends just drop out of your life for no good reason. Sometimes it's a little bit with a bang. But you know what? Looking back, you go, thank heavens for that. Because you start realizing you were just being kept in that vibration. And you wanted to move past that. So these are 5 things that has kept you back in the past and 5 things that you can break through. I'd love it if you subscribe to my channel, get more people to see videos like this. It tells you when more videos are coming, and I'd so appreciate it if you would. Have an awesome day. Bye.